Today we will talk on EPC contracts. As we know, EPC means engineering, procurement, and construction. Thus, engineering, that is architectural or structural or plumbing or electrical, HVAC, whatever designs are there, those and drawings, detailings, everything including structural are to be done by the contractor. They are on the part of the contractor. And procurement, as we know, procurement means materials and services which are required for the work but derived from engineering and specifications mentioned in the contract, and they have always been part of the contractor, in other terms of the contract documents. Construction is with regard again to engineering and has always been on the part of the contractor. Therefore, basic difference we have seen in other contracts and EPC contracts is about engineering. And we must understand that engineering is in the center of the contract. Now, we know that other types of traditional contracts which we were using are item rate contracts or percentage rate contracts. In percentage rate contracts or item rate contracts, engineering is done by the employer or his consultant or his engineer. But then in EPC contracts, engineering as is part of the contractor. That means that will be done by the contractor himself if he has the organization required for the work designing. Otherwise, it will be done by the consultant or engineer appointed by the contractor. Now, so basic difference is engineering, as other components are part of the contracts in all types of the contracts. Then question is why it is given to the contractor, why this engineering is given to the contractor, and what is the advantage. Now, if we see, then the major advantage is considered as the coordination. And in the contracts, contract management, we have seen that coordination is also one of the basic issues, particularly in item and percentage rate contracts. Coordination is required sometimes between civil contractors if we are awarding the work to different civil contractors, even of the civil component. Then main thing is that disputes arises during extension of time and the delays done by some other contractors which has the activities which are interdependent, and even during fixing the liquidated damages. So what was done earlier in item rate or percentage rate contracts, the department switched over to single tender or single contract for all the civil engineering jobs. Then came coordination problem between different streams of the contractors like civil, electrical, HVAC, fire, and so on. So then again organization thought what to be done, and then they ultimately switched over to composite tenders. Still, few feel that there is a coordination problem between architects, designers, and contractor. So when this remained the issue, then the EPC contract came. This concept of EPC contract came. Now, advantage what is said is that this had single point responsibility for the, particularly for the employer. Remember, employer, not for the contractor, as there may be many subcontractors even in one EPC contract. Since contract is awarded to a single contractor, extension of time due to non-performance of other subcontractors cannot be given, or that is not a hindrance. So it is said that EPC is a fixed time contract and EPC contractor has to deliver the project within the specified time. Considering this, and when we say about item rate and percentage rate contractors, then there is escalation. In item rate and percentage rate contract, escalation was easy to calculate, and we had standard formulae. But then we also know that the measurement and payment was done as per the items paid in item rate and percentage rate contracts. But it is difficult in EPC contract as it is a lump sum amount. Therefore, to make it easy, normally in EPC contracts, escalation clause is not introduced, or that was omitted from the tender documents. Remember, it does not mean that escalation is not part of the contract price, as the contractor will always load this component, but it is said that EPC contract has advantage of having no escalation, though it is indirectly included. Then there was another problem, that engineer or employer had to deal with many contractors and their subcontractors in many item rate or percentage rate contracts, and many times they were not the engineers or architects, so they didn't understand the engineering language. Advantage in EPC contracts is that the contractor engages engineers and architects for engineering purposes particularly, so it is easy for the engineers of the organization or the employer to deal with them. In item rate or percentage rate contracts, contractors are normally small contractors, not like EPC contractor, if not all, few, and they have limited resources, so dealing with them is considered to be difficult. But EPC contractor is a big contractor and mostly a company having good amount of resources, so supervision is said to be relatively easy. Now think for the technology or innovation based contracts. Employer or engineers, they are not aware of the new technology because that may be patented technology, so they can't prepare BOQ. So normally wherever the contracts are technology based or innovation based, EPC contract is always a better choice, or rather it is only the choice. Now let us discuss some difficulties. We can start with engineering first. A basic purpose of engineering is safe and sound structure. Then engineering also includes architecture. Here aesthetics is equally important. A contractor, we know that he is in business, so his profession is based on profit and loss, so he will always go for the economy. Economy in architecture, whenever we talk, probably it means limited architectural features or limited aesthetics. So in EPC contracts, minded aesthetics may get compromised. So what is the solution? So the organization are now engaging their own architects or consultants, preparing preliminary drawings, giving plans and elevations to the EPC contractor, and even broad specifications. So this component, so there are two architects, architectural services being provided by two architects. It means almost dual expenditure on architectural services. Then let us talk about the structural design part. Structural design is always based on minimum concept, and no additional factor of safety like inverse taken up on item rate or percentage rate contracts is introduced. As we know that whenever we calculate the quantity of steel or cement or bitumen in BOQ, they are being paid as per the requirement or as per the actual execution in the contract. So contractors get paid, so he is executing. Then one can argue why it is required when codes permit minimum concept, but we know at the site there are many factors which affect the properties, particularly in civil engineering, as the products are not factory made but casted at site, and only sample testing is done. It is not that all the whole of the structure is tested. So life cycle guarantee is being talked in EPC contracts, and probably that life cycle guarantee needs to be given. and that can be given only by the EPC contractor because he is in charge of the engineering in EPC contracts. Let us talk about the single point responsibility. If subcontractors are allowed in EPC contract, and which is normal, even up to 40% or 50% are allowed in some of the contracts, then purpose of single point responsibility actually gets lost. Though we can say that main contractor is always responsible, but remember that even EPC contractor is resourceful, but their subcontractors may not be so much resourceful as EPC contractor. So then effect of that non-availability of resources will always remain a point of discussion. Then effect of subcontracting means higher cost of construction due to profit being shared by two contractors. Even there may be quality issues, even time overrun. And then what will happen? To cover up delays of subcontractors, sometimes EPC contractor may find lapses on the part of the employer or engineer of the employer regarding delayed decisions, and then they will force the employer to give extension of time and maybe claiming liquidated damages during litigation. Now let us discuss dealing with the contractors in item rate, percentage rate or EPC contract. Dealing with the multiple small contractors we have discussed is difficult, that is true, but dealing with a big contractor is also a challenge if there is a difference, particularly in opinion of both or interpretation of the contract clauses. Hence, contract clauses must be very clear and unambiguous. Like variations. Variations are common in civil engineering contracts and they are easily settled in item rate or percentage rate contracts, but not so in EPC contracts, as EPC contract is normally prepared as performance based contracts. So for the function of the work, all performances are to be done by the EPC contractor, but that may not be particularly mentioned in the contract. So there is a dispute, there may be dispute, and then there may be uncertainty, hence disputes may arise and EPC contractor claims additional items or extra items and then add his rates. So what is required is maybe that in EPC tender documents there has to be clarity of the scope, though it is against basic principles of EPC contract, still that is required, and if everything is included, that becomes a turnkey contract. And we have discussed technology based or innovation based contracts. No doubt for such contracts EPC contract is best suited, but then we cannot engage someone else in case of anything delay or say cost overrun or time overrun due to patented technologies, because nobody else will be coming at the later stage. So what happened that EPC contractor and contractor becomes fait accompli, hence sufficient conditions are to be included for avoiding time overrun and poor quality and the interest of the employer. Now let us discuss how EPC contract works. Conceptual drawings, or whether they are architectural particularly or preliminary architectural drawing, whatever we call it, with few detailed drawings are part of the EPC contract documents, and also broad specifications are part of the contract document. Architectural drawings or sometimes they are given by the employer or even structural, but in general only preliminary drawings are given by the employer and detailed drawings are prepared by the EPC contractors. And then let us talk about the specifications of the materials. All the brands and makes of the materials required in a work are not feasible to be stipulated in tender document. Hence, only brands and makes of few materials which are important or major materials are included in the contract document. But then the EPC contractor, if he is good, then best quality of the materials may be used in the work. As we have discussed that drawings is the responsibility of the contractor, particularly detailed drawings, detailed architectural and structural drawings. So they are to be submitted by the contractor. Now somebody is to approve those drawings, and it is the engineer of the employer or consultant of the employer who is approving. Now this approval itself leads to delay, and then time overrun, cost overrun, and litigation. So the if we compare the earlier system of item rate or percentage rate tender, then approval was required, that approved drawings were to be issued to the contractor. Here also approval is to be given by the employer or the engineer of the employer. So then there may be third person also who is proof checking the drawings, so that also take time. And then if we talk about the quality, then I think that quality has nothing to do with types of contracts adopted, whether it is item rate, percentage rate, or EPC contract. Let us talk about the payments. Now stage payments are made and one never knows relation between actual work done and payment made for the items. We only while we prepare the EPC contract, then stage payments are to be decided. They are decided based on the experience and some criteria, we assume. In case of determination of the contract or rescission of the contract, working out payment to the contractor is very difficult, and normally it is not mentioned in the EPC contract. Hence, there is a requirement of stipulation of the same or a standard method for such eventualities, so that is included in the contract. Then let us see where this EPC contract is adopted. Particularly where the employer does not have the establishment, that is planning units, whether it is architectural, structural, or quantity surveyors, then they adopt EPC contracts. And then this avoids delays due to large time taken by the employer in finalizing outsourcing agencies. If the employer is to fix or outsource the architectural services or consultant, they take long time because of the procedural part. But in case of the contractor, they just come across the table and negotiate the rates, and then this agreement is done. So EPC contractor can directly negotiate the rates and get the work done at the faster pace. In getting work done from outsourced agencies, EPC contractor is faster compared to bureaucratic approach of in-house officers. Then we know that work is awarded and started earlier compared to other modes of the contracts. Time of completion, generally it is lesser in case of EPC mode, and compared to item rate or percentage rate contracts. And this EPC contract is most suited for technology based and innovation based contracts. Thanks. I'm KM Soni, retired ADG. Thanks a lot.